How's everybody doing?
Good.
All right.
Awesome. Nice day outside.
Beautiful day.
Okay, so howdy everybody.
Hey, Al.
We want to thank everybody for coming out here today. We are going to start how we always start every meeting as activists. We're going to do a really quick roundup. Sorry, I was totally just running. Yeah, so we just want to know your name, your preferred gender pronoun, whether it be he, she, ze, or they, and how you feel in terms of color. And there's a lot of us here, so we'll just make it a really quick roundup. Just try to do it in like 5 seconds. So, my name's Alfie. I prefer they, and right now I feel purple. And I'm gonna go left.
Okay, my name is Holly, Z, and I feel deep blue. My name is Donnie. Donnie.
Right.
Today, Z, and let's go with purple.
My name is Rick, and I feel great.
I feel greater.
My name's Ben, and I feel sunny.
Yeah.
And preferred gender pronoun.
DTP.
Trisexual.
My name is Vincent, he, and blue.
My name is Jess. My preferred gender pronoun is they, and I feel indigo.
Alessandro, they, purple.
Jersey, he or she, and I feel orange. Why don't we jump over here and then go this way?
Johnny, feel good.
Perfect.
Soren, he, green.
Julio, he, silver.
I'm Emily. I prefer she, and I feel bright yellow.
Luna, I prefer they, and I feel like a vibrant purple with glitter.
Julie, I prefer she, and I feel turquoise.
Vanessa, she, and lime green.
Alexis, I prefer she, and I'm feeling hot pink.
Hex, Mahid, and I'm turquoise, but more green.
Cool, I'm Nancy. I prefer she, and I feel green.
I'm Saeed, PGP, he or she, and I feel gold, sparkly gold.
Roman, he, and I feel brown.
Gigi, teal, I feel teal, blue, and she.
My name is Brad. I prefer he, and I feel red.
And I'm Marcus, I prefer he, and I'm feeling kind of gray today, but hopefully to feel kind of a bright green after this meeting.
My name is Joey. I prefer he, and I feel olive green.
Rachel, I prefer she, and rosy pink.
Eugene, I prefer he, and I am that bright green already. So.
You guys want to go?
I'm Nima. I'm he, and I feel kind of cute green right now, but I think it's going to get a little more vibrant.
I'm Jay. My preferred gender pronoun is he, and I feel like orange.
Awesome. All right, now we know a little bit more about each other. So yeah, first of all, I just want to thank everybody for coming out one more time. It's really awesome that you are here. Yay! My name's Alfie, and I am a field coordinator here at Canvas for a Cause. And yeah, we're really excited to be doing what we're doing. We are holding a panel today to discuss medical cannabis and patients' rights. And we're doing it with Canvas for a Cause and the San Diego Americans for Safe Access, who are currently organizing a campaign to protect patients' rights in Imperial Beach. So that's why we're here today. So yeah. All right. So this panel basically comes as a response to the federal crackdowns on patients' rights and to their patients' rights to safely access their medicine of choice. And it's been happening in San Diego, and it's been happening all over California. So that's why we're here today. So yeah, let's start by welcoming our fabulous panel. I want to thank everybody on the panel for actually being here today. It's really awesome that we can have people, helping us get ourselves educated. That's the first step to changing any issue. Our first panelist here is Eugene Davidovich, the chair of the San Diego chapter of Americans for Safe Access, and which is the most active group or organization working on patients' rights.
He's the hardest working man in there.
He's also joined with Marcus Boyd, who is the vice chair of the San Diego Americans for Safe Access, actually a business owner in Imperial Beach, and is pretty much opening up his office so that we can have the planning meetings down there for this.
Thank you.
Next we have Rachel Scoma, whoop whoop, the co-executive director of Canvas for a Cause, and she was also the co-regional field director on the Prop 19 campaign and the senior organizer on the Stop the Ban campaign. So yeah, all around awesome. And last but certainly not least over here is Joey Sago or Sago? I forget. Sago. I say it right, and it's Sago. And yeah, he's our awesome new field coordinator. He's actually with an emphasis on youth outreach. So really exciting that we get to do that. He's also worked with Being Alive, which is an HIV/AIDS patient outreach organization, and Mama's Kitchen, which provides food and shelter for HIV/AIDS patients who wouldn't otherwise be able to. So that is our fabulous panel, and that's why they're so fabulous. So we are going to move into the question part of the panel. So right now, I'm gonna time each response for there's gonna be a allotted amount of time. I'll time on you. If there's any extra time, like if they answer the question, instead we have a few minutes, I can let you guys know, and you can definitely ask questions. But we do have a section at the end of the panel that's going to be so that we can have an open forum and open discussion. So we really just encourage you to save those for the end. Write down your questions. We'll be absolutely happy to have them. It's like an open discussion. And yeah, let me see if I have my bill. Yeah. I'll just not when you guys, if you're getting close to your 1 minute, I'll just knock 3 times. Same thing for when we're in the open forum. That'll just be a knock. Like I said, it's an open forum, but just in case we start running out of time to make sure everybody has a chance, we just want to make sure we're being respectful of everyone's time. So yeah, hang on a second. Okay, awesome. Let's get started. So the first questions this is just a general question. This is going to be for everyone here, and you will all have it's 2 minutes. So you can answer it in 2 minutes. I'll let you guys know. We'll start off with Eugene, since he's the closest to me and easiest to look in the eye. What motivates you to be involved in cannabis activism?
Thank you, Alfie. Thanks for the amazing job organizing this event and putting the discussion together. The short of it is I got arrested. That's why I became a medical cannabis activist. There is no other reason I would not be here today had it not been for the San Diego District Attorney Bonnie Dumanis, who decided not just to arrest me, but to prosecute the case. I took the case to trial. I won my trial. I was vindicated. There were 6 felonies that I was facing, potentially, 10 years plus in jail or whatnot. But I was not breaking the law. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was following state law. I was doing everything I could as a medical marijuana patient to comply with the law. Yeah, you can even watch the video online of the undercover buy with it's still up on YouTube. But that's why I became an activist. But what's continued to motivate me to fight, even though I won my case and absolutely had help from the community and our local ASA chapter to get there. But what motivates me the most is the fact that sick and dying patients right now, today, in hospitals, convalescent homes, and across the country, 16 years later, since the law has been passed in this state, still don't have access. And legalizing it, although I'm all for changing all of our drug laws in this country, but outright legalization of marijuana for recreational use still does not address the issue of 16 years later, patients in hospitals and convalescent homes not having access. So that's what keeps me motivated. That's why I'm a medical cannabis activist.
Awesome. Rachel, you can go ahead and ask the question.
So the same question?
Yeah, what motivates you to be involved in cannabis activism?
Sweet. So this issue is really important to me because so many people, especially poor people and people of color, are in jail because of cannabis use. So a substance that comes from the earth and has never killed a single person from overdose has put more people in jail than any other issue in this country and in the world. I think that we're building the prison industrial complex on the backs of these poor people on cannabis use. I think that cannabis use, I know that it basically pays for drug cartels in Mexico to continue to perpetuate violence. And in every way, the legalization of cannabis is going to be a huge benefit to society. I view the prohibition of cannabis as absolutely a war on the people. I got involved in activism on the Prop 19 campaign, and through that met amazing organizers like Eugene, who helped educate me on the importance of medical cannabis and how important that this is a separate issue that also is just as urgent as the legalization of cannabis, and for different reasons, namely because patients who are sick and dying and in pain and need our help, and our most vulnerable citizens lack access to medical cannabis, a completely safe drug. So that is why I'm here and continuing the fight in both medical and legalization avenues.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead.
All right. This is a really impactful issue for me personally. In the last 5 years, I've been working diligently with the community here in San Diego, HIV/AIDS patients in particular, who, due to medication side effects or literally the side effects of advanced AIDS, can't function as normal human beings right now, and the only options for them are hardcore opiates, which are extremely physically addicting and very harmful to the body. Medical cannabis has been proven over and over again to be a beneficial medicine for those people suffering with these illnesses and these repercussions of the medication that they're taking. And the fact that these people are being jailed and imprisoned for that to function is ridiculous and outraging to me. So that's why it's a really important issue for me to work on.
Ow!
I got one of those personal stories. My sister experienced a series of strokes after not weaning herself off of a pharmaceutical, some sort of a steroid, due to a sty in her eye, of all things. And so, upon having those series of strokes, she lost the use of her right side and became bedridden and went from a tall, sexy woman from Detroit to 380-pound bedridden sad woman from Detroit. And my sister raised me, and she taught me to be a man, and she taught me that when you are tasked with doing something as a man, then you have to follow it through until it's done. So while she was bedridden, I watched her. I moved to San Diego and I watched her suffer at a convalescent care facility that Eugene mentioned, and I tried to help him realize and showed him. But at 46 years old, she was calling me weekly, telling me about which friend died that day. And so I took her out, and I put her in a apartment just behind my office in Imperial Beach. And I went to LA, and I got some medical marijuana because her main problem, she had got enough training to get out of bed and get in this wheelchair with just one side and electric wheelchair and get around. But because of her gastrointestinal problems, she wasn't able to go to the bathroom, and so it would stop her up so bad that she couldn't move. And so, despite all the physical therapy and getting her muscles together, her stomach wouldn't let her move. So, I got her some cannabis and just smoked it. I told her to smoke it. She had smoked it as a kid, and she said she didn't want to try it, but she would. So I go to LA. I find some medical marijuana, and I bring it to her. And about 15 minutes after she smoked it, she had the largest bowel movement she said she had remembered since she was a kid. So from then on, she was able to get up every day and smile, and she was a really active person in the community, rolling around and waving to everybody. And so she had, because of her stomach problems, she ended up having an ulcer, and she had to be readmitted into hospital. And after she got out of the surgery, they put her back in the same convalescent care facility. She only had a couple friends left there. And so one morning, they called me and said she had passed away. So I wanted to talk to the people that were there that morning. So I went back the next morning. at 3 o'clock in the morning when she passed away to make sure I was there when the people were there when she passed away. And the story that they told me was that she had fell asleep, or rather she couldn't fall asleep in her bed because it had sat up. She was watching TV and she had stomach surgery, remember? And her bed wouldn't go down. There was no orderlies there to move her to another bed. So she was just going to have to sit there and suffer until they could get there. So she asked them for a joint, and they all laughed, and 2 hours later she died. So I'm going to die getting her that joint. And that's all I got.
Alright, let's get there. We're moving on to, how we can start changing this issue. This is clearly something that's personal to everybody. And I think that's really good that we got to showcase that. So we're going to move on to the next question. These are going to be individual questions. Eugene, you said you could share your time with Marcus.
Yes.
So that's cool.
We'll
So
split it.
That's awesome. Okay, awesome. So for these, you guys have 5 minutes.
Okay.
And yeah, like I said, I'll let you know when I knock. That means 1 more minute left. But the question for Representative Asa is, can you share some of the history of medical marijuana locally and federally, and then explain the current initiative that we have going on in Imperial Beach?
I'll kick it off, Marcus, and then I'll pass it on to you if you don't want to. So just real brief, and in 5 minutes it's hard, or in 2.5 minutes it's hard to tell you the history of medical marijuana in San Diego, because we have a really rich history of activism right here in San Diego. Some of the most historic things have been done in the city since 1996 and before then. Rick's been part of that right here since the beginning and since before then, and helping get these laws passed. But we've had folks like Steve McWilliams here in San Diego who fought really, really hard, Dion Markgraf, etc., that have done everything they can to get the laws that we have, even the ordinances that we have on the books in the city of San Diego as it is. But in 1996, as everybody knows, the state passed Prop 215. In 2003, the state legislature came in and clarified Prop 215 with Senate Bill 420, which gave some more clarifications. It also provided the definition of what a dispensary, a collective, or a cooperative is, and gave the ID cards that many medical cannabis patients possess today that are issued by the county of San Diego. In the county of San Diego, however, since 2003, since 1996 and before then, we've seen every municipality fighting this issue, fighting against it.
No cards.
Exactly, no cards. The state came out and said in 2003 that we got to issue these cards. The county, instead of issuing them like Rick was talking about, they sued the state for having to issue these cards. They lost at the highest level. They're forced to issue these cards now, and we've had these cards here in San Diego since 2009, I believe, is when they finally started issuing them by the county health department. So we've had nothing but a direct and severe and vicious attack since '96 against patients' rights. Now in 2003, when Bonnie Dumanis, our current district attorney, came into power in the county of San Diego, which includes Imperial Beach, city of San Diego, and every other municipality, there's a total of 17 in there. When she came to power, she started, even though she ran on a platform of supporting patients, like she's doing now, running for mayor, saying she supports medical marijuana, when she came into power, she did nothing but prosecute patients. Caregivers, patients, providers, it doesn't matter, no discrimination. She went after everybody. I was caught up in one of those raids, as I mentioned before. And that's what's been happening locally. We've seen no help from our local officials. The only people we have seen some significant help from is the county grand jury. The county grand jury actually came out with 2 separate reports and by two different grand juries saying that all the cities and municipalities in San Diego were violating state law by not implementing regulations, and that they should implement regulations. The city of Imperial Beach, city of La Mesa, and every other city and town received a personal letter from our grand jury in San Diego County telling them to implement the law, yet they still refused. And that kind of brings us to Imperial Beach. In Imperial Beach, not only did they just refuse to implement the law like most of the other cities did, actually with the exception of one, the unincorporated areas of the county implemented an ordinance. The most restrictive ordinance that exists in the state of California is what we've got, one that's more restrictive. In order to open up a dispensary or a safe access location in the unincorporated areas, you have to jump over hurdles and restrictions that are more severe and strict than one if you wanted to open up a radiation disposal facility. It is easier to open up a radiation disposal facility in the county than it is a dispensary. But through a miracle, one managed to do it. There is one out in El Cajon. They're in the county unincorporated area. So even with the most restrictive place like the county, we know it's possible. They have to do it. It's state law, regardless of what the feds say. And before I get into kind of Imperial Beach and pass it over to Marcus, the feds this whole time have been saying medical marijuana is illegal, forget Prop 215 and Senate Bill 420. We don't care, we don't respect it whatsoever. Unfortunately for the feds, the courts are in disagreement with them. The courts have already ruled on this issue. They have clearly said that health issues, like medical marijuana being a health issue, are the business of the state. That's why the county has its own health department. That's why health programs are administered throughout the states of the United States of America, within the states, in those counties. The feds don't have any business meddling with it. And the state has passed this law. So regardless of the feds coming in, and yes, they can come in and still try to enforce federal law and shut down patients, and they do. And that's why we're fighting them at the federal level. But that doesn't prevent us from doing business as a state, as a city, or as a municipality. And that is exactly what we're trying to do. And in Imperial Beach, we've been trying to do it for 2 years. We've been working, and Marcus will tell you more about it. Marcus has been lobbying.
Mother Earth is still subject to federal prosecution in their county.
And we've been trying to convince them, just like in the San Diego, the Imperial Beach City Council, to adopt regulations rather than a ban. And for 2 years, patients have been going there. Over 700 letters were sent through a letter campaign Marcus headed up down in IB. This is a little bit different from the Stop the Ban campaign that we did up here in San Diego. And still, over the overwhelming opposition of its own residents, they approved the most egregious ban in the county of San Diego. So the county approved that restrictive ordinance, but here we have a ban. Not only are they banning dispensaries, they are banning patients from associating in Imperial Beach. So if there's 4 patients associating in Imperial Beach, you're an illegal dispensary. And that is the problem with the law. That's what we're trying to overturn. We're replacing it with reasonable, decent regulations. And I know I probably have come close to my time, but I'd like to...
That's cool. Let's move on to what we're doing down there in Imperial Beach.
Okay, well, in IB, I brought it to the council as a land use issue, specifically because of Eugene and his case and multiple others. And I was watching.
Canvas for a cause.
I was watching how the city councils across the state that were not interested in having medical marijuana in their municipality, how they were using their level of influence, sometimes education, business model of dealing with government, using that to circumvent the growers, for the most part, that were backing up the medical marijuana movement. And it really wasn't professionals that were doing it. It wasn't business owners. It wasn't people, say, in the closet, as this group may know something about. There's a lot of in-the-closet people with regard to medical marijuana. Business, from doctors, lawyers, to judges. One of the cases, not Eugene's, but the case after Eugene's that was well known, we had to subpoena a special witness out of the 1,600 members. It happened that one of the deputy district attorneys was a member of this particular collective because he was a member because he was a patient. That's why. So, these people needed to come out of the closet. In order to do that, I figured, why not I come out of the closet first? Why not I, speak on behalf of people that, otherwise are not being listened to, or their voices aren't being heard, are not able to follow through necessarily with all the paperwork and all the red tape that's necessary to get through the governmental bureaucracy that controls how things are passed, how laws are how we're all governed. So I had the time, I had the wherewithal, so I brought it to the council as a request to open a dispensary. I had a business there for, at that time, several years, 6 years, something. And so I told them at my location I'd like to have a dispensary. The day after, the council denied my request. Actually, they denied my request just after they placed a moratorium on me having that. So they put the moratorium first, but that's whatever. The day after, they sent the fire marshal into my office just to do a safety check. So they're against medical marijuana in a big way. And in IB, I had, before I went to the council, talked to multiple members of the city council, which were acquaintances, and one of them a friend of mine. When I went to the council, I had 3 members of the council on my side. They took them into closed session, never reported it on documents, but admitted it in meetings. And my 3 friends went away, and I was left with one, and they won't talk to me anymore, and they won't do it. So at this point, they went through all the steps, a 2-year moratorium, and then finally gave us the most restrictive ban in the county out of all the 17 other municipalities. This is the only one that actually bans, as Eugene was saying, anything more than 3 people associating, and that means in your own private home. So they've gone way above and beyond their legal right. There is a lawsuit there. If anybody's got an extra 50 grand, let me know. I got a perfect lawyer for it. But rather than suing them with money that I don't have and a lawyer that I don't have, try to put it on the ballot with hopefully some help from some friends and that needed to get it on there. So that's where we're at.
Awesome. We are those friends. We are indeed. Thank you guys so much. That was really, really awesome. It was very informative, and I know that was really quick. There really is a lot of history in San Diego about fighting for medical cannabis that you guys should totally look into. But now we're going to move on to the fabulous Joey. So, Joey, can you explain the current treatments for HIV/AIDS and what benefits does medical cannabis bring to patients?
Absolutely. So I'm just going to go into 2 repercussions of HIV/AIDS and the treatment for HIV/AIDS. One is called neuropathy. And for those of you that don't know, neuropathy is the disease of the nerves. About 30% of people with HIV develop peripheral neuropathy because of the drugs used to treat it. Thank God that today people who are diagnosed with HIV, it's not a death sentence. But because of the medications and their toxicity to the system, they develop some side effects to it. Literally, the neuropathy can range from a minor nuisance to a disabling weakness with a feeling of pins and needles, numbness in the feet and toes. And the only approved medications are Neurontin, which is an anticonvulsant, and narcotic pain medications. There have been recent studies for patients who have used medical marijuana to treat neuropathy, and they've literally reported a decreased dependence on the pain medication, improved sleep. Many have reported they've slept through the night for the first time in years. Also improved mood, better outlook, and improved appetite. Also, there's a syndrome called wasting syndrome. Wasting syndrome is described as involuntary weight loss that can occur at any stage of infection, and usually suggests that the HIV disease is progressing. Also, chronic unintended weight loss is associated with malnutrition, which can contribute to increased immunosuppression. It's usually used to describe a syndrome where someone has lost more than 10% of their body weight in the absence of active infection or any other identifiable cause of weight loss. In order to manage their wasting syndrome, patients must reduce nausea and vomiting. And the most effective medication to do that with the least side effects is cannabis, and that is not legally permitted right now. So those are some of the things that I wanted to share in terms of HIV/AIDS.
We'll move right along then to Rachel. Rachel, what did you learn from the Prop 19 campaign, and how do you think that Canvas for a Cause and ACE's efforts in Imperial Beach can push this issue forward?
Cool. So from Prop 19, I learned the power of volunteers. So as the regional field director, my responsibility was to get people who supported Prop 19 and the legalization of cannabis in California to sign their pledge of support, to register them to vote, and then to phone bank them so that they knew to go out and vote. So we did a huge get out the vote effort. And me myself, I can phone bank maybe 100 people a day, but that's way less effective than going and organizing 10 volunteers who can then call 100 people a day, and then we're calling 1,000 people. So it really taught me the importance of multiplying my effort, and that I just literally cannot do anything myself. It's all about organizing, right? And that comes with a really... I went to law school, I passed the bar. I have never felt more proud than on the day of Prop 19, even though we lost, because of what we had accomplished. I looked back on this campaign in San Diego that wouldn't have existed if I hadn't, me and my co-regional field director, Ben Cisneros, hadn't done it, hadn't come down here and hadn't put in the miles, and we were up in Fallbrook, and we were, commuting down, and we were just doing all the things. And I could look at that, and I could look at the hundreds of people who we had gotten involved and say, wow, we did this with nothing on a volunteer basis. And that's really what brought me to Canvas for a Cause. You know, I was here as the regional field director of Prop 19 working out of the Canvas for a Cause office because this office was the only place that let me do that loaned me a clipboard and showed me how to, like, you know, carry it. And a lot of you out there are canvassers, and the skills that you learn out there as a canvasser are some of the most important skills in the activist toolkit. The ability to go out and stop somebody in the road and have a real conversation with them and, like, connect with them and get them to do something, even if it's just pledging their support and registering them to vote and making sure that they do that. Like, you guys can do that. I had no idea how to do that, and that's what Prop 19 really taught me. And I fell in love with it, and I stayed on as Canvas for a Cause, and, you know, look where we are now. It's been crazy. But as far as Canvas for a Cause goes, like, we are strictly progressive, occasionally queer, we say sometimes. But what I love about the medical cannabis movement is that it started with LGBT activists, that the translation in the crosshairs of the HIV/AIDS virus and the advocacy that it took from the LGBT community in San Francisco to advocate ceaselessly and to organize and to use their community ties to get this law passed. That's where it started. It started with the LGBT community, right? And now now Canvas for a Cause embodies these sort of two principles, and we're working together as cannabis activists, as, you know, LGBT activists, and, you know, as people who just want to move forward and really make a change. The other value that I learned from Prop 19, other than just the tools of being an activist, is the value of having a campaign, of, like, starting a campaign and finishing a campaign and doing everything in between to make that as effective as possible. Right after Prop 19 ended, there was sort of a vacuum. We didn't know what we wanted to do, but we knew that if we were ever going to be successful in 2012 or 2014 or 2016, it meant that we had to keep volunteers out. It meant that we had to stay busy. And so what we did was, when the San Diego City Council was going to basically institute a ban as their ordinance, we said, this is unacceptable. And it was sort of happening, and it had been happening for a while, and they were advocating for regulations, and the Medical Marijuana Task Force brought regulations that were fair, and the City Council said, we don't care about that, we're going to make it super restrictive. And so we launched a letter writing campaign using Canvas for a Cause, using the model of canvassers going out with clipboards and talking to people. But instead of, you know, do you support gay rights, it was, do you support medical cannabis patients? And instead of fundraising, which we did, but more importantly, we were getting handwritten letters from people so we could mail those to the City Council. We sent nearly 3,000 letters to the City Council in the span of, like, 2 months, and we got two amendments to the ordinance made. They were really shitty. It was 1,000 feet down. It was 1,000 feet, and we got it down to 600 feet. And then it was a process 4 permitting process, and it was, you know, it got down to a 3. And that was through the political pressure, people going out and reaching their city council members. We got 600 people to the city council meetings. I mean, not just us, but everyone. We organized with collectives and other organizations in San Diego. And we had a protest in downtown San Diego that was as big as I've ever seen. Probably, you know, 700 people were there. Like, we really were able to mobilize San Diego through this process and get a lot of volunteers and get a lot of excitement and build that capacity to make change. The ordinance passed. Even with those amendments, it was unacceptable. Luckily, there was a referendum. Now there's no ordinance in San Diego. Right now, we're focusing on Imperial Beach, right? Because Americans for Safe Access in San Diego wrote an amazing ordinance down there that is going to guarantee safe access, and Canvas for a Cause endorses that because it's the best thing for patients. And when we have the sort of municipality of Imperial Beach, where we only need 2,000 signatures, and that's double what we need, it's like 1,075, like, that is so doable for canvassers who have already nearly 1,000 petitions for the Equality 9, right? You guys have been able to do that in 1 month. That's the kind of power that I want to infuse in IB, and I want to take this campaign from beginning to end and win it. Win it because we've done the due diligence since November 2010 with Prop 19 to build that capacity, to make ties in the community, to train people to be activists. Now it's the time that we can actually do it and prove that we have that power and prove that we have those skills and that we can win it. You know, it's just so important that the people in the San Diego County fear us, and not just Canvas for a Cause, of course, but the medical cannabis community in general and activists, right? We need them to know that if the people oppose something, that we have that we're going to oppose it. We're really going to oppose it. We're not just going to let them do this. We're not just going to let them stop access for HIV/AIDS patients, for people with MS. That is wrong, and we're going to stand up until we make it right. Imperial Beach is a wonderful place to start. Marcus lives down there. He's done amazing work as an activist and with it, Americans for Safe Access. But Imperial Beach is the tip of the iceberg. There are 17 municipalities in San Diego County, right? We need to go to each one. We need to guarantee safe access in all of these places. And hopefully it will have this domino effect of finally the city councils will be like, all right, I get it. You're going to, do this initiative and it's going to cost millions of dollars, so we're just going to give you what you want, right? That's where we want to go. It's not because every single time has to be the struggle, it's that we need to do this struggle now for the successes of the future. And I don't know where I am on my time, but that's what I learned from Prop 19. That's what Canvas for a Cause can do, and we can win it in IB and win it for all of us.
That's right.
Yeah. Awesome. Wow, that was really good. So yeah, we're gonna move to the closing question now. I know we've been a little loose on time, but we're gonna try to really stick to 2 minutes. So like I said, I'll tap 1 minute. And I know this is also kind of an abstract question. It's pretty broad, so I know it's gonna be kind of hard to do in 2 minutes. But I'm sure you can do it. What are some reasons why people power is so important to these efforts? And what do you think our chances of winning are in IB? So yeah, like I said, 2 minutes.
Everything that we have in the on the books and the laws today, our system of governance, it is all controlled and influenced. It can be controlled and it can be influenced by the people. We hold the ultimate power. Even though right now there's a huge disconnect. The way the laws are written, the way the system is set up, it's not representative of the will of the people, of the will of the residents and voters in IB, but that is who is going to make that change. And without that people power, we wouldn't have the ability to do even initiative and ballot drives like we do. We have that because people stood up and said, no, the people need a voice. We need the ability to get signatures, to get these horrendous laws changed on the books, and that's why we have this process to put something on the ballot in IB. Let's see, the other part of the question was why it's so important that these efforts, what are our chances of winning in IB? I think that we have a huge chance of success in IB. In fact, I think that we're going to win in IB. The Imperial Beach, the informal polling that we've done by going out there in the community and talking to people, and Marcus talking to the voters in IB and the people coming through his office, is over 75%. He'll tell you even higher than 80. My opinion is that it's somewhere around that 70s, 80s, somewhere is the level of support we have, not just for medical marijuana, but for safe access to medical marijuana, a means to actually get that medicine. We have a council member in the Imperial Beach City Council who's the son of a conservative right-wing Republican nut, Congressman Brian Bilbray's son, who isn't a Republican right-wing nut, who supports safe access. He was the only one that voted against the ban down in IB. We also have his sister, the daughter of Republican Congressman Bilbray, who is a cancer patient herself and a medical marijuana user herself in IB, who's an advocate for this issue. We have hundreds and hundreds of patients down in the South Bay who can benefit from the use of medical cannabis locally in their neighborhoods. And now we have dispensaries that have shut down around the South Bay area. They're shutting down dispensaries even more on a day-to-day basis down there. So there is a complete lack of access in the South Bay area. And one of the reasons the city used in passing their ban is saying that, hey, there's dispensaries right there, on the border in San Diego, just a couple of miles down the road. Well, there aren't any. Or they're about to be shut down if there's one or two left still. And so we absolutely have...
Don't they want to tax and regulate?
No. Exactly. No. And we absolutely have... is my time up?
Yeah.
Okay. We have a chance. We're going to do it.
We can tell you, like I said, we'll have a 10-minute question and answer session after that. So absolutely. But yeah, Rachel, what are some reasons why people power is so important to these efforts, and what are our chances of winning in IB?
Awesome. So it's just like Eugene was saying, right? With our work with Occupy and sort of my own personal perspective, I think in a lot of ways the people are screwed, right? But we still have in our system built in these levers for democracy. And it's up to us to pull those levers. So just like Marcus was saying, the city council ignored his pleas down in Imperial Beach. They've ignored us time and time again. Hours and hours and hours asking them, please, please pass these regulations for safe access, and they refuse to do it. Well, awesome, we have the ballot measure process where we can take it into our own hands. We don't need a lawyer to sue. We don't need city councilmen to pass it. We're gonna take this into our own hands and we're gonna pass it and make it real for us. And it's all going to take the investment of each of us to go out and to get those signatures and to do that legwork and to make sure that we're cost effective, because we do everything on a budget here, right? But we can do it. It just is going to take the work of the people to do that. And in so doing, we pull those levers of democracy, we create, justice, and hopefully set that precedent for future municipalities and governments to listen to that will, because we're going to do it anyway.
We all vote the same way.
All right, Judge.
Cool. From my personal experience here at Canvas for a Cause, we are highly trained, well-oiled machine of activists. We literally write raps, go out there and use them, and they've been proven effective. Since last year, we've literally changed the minds of over 7,000 non-supportive voters on the Fair Education Act alone. We're able to talk to thousands of people a day about the issues that we're passionate about and get them involved. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that we as activists can make a huge change and dent in this. There's no doubt in my mind that we can do this. We are doing it right now. This is the beginning of an amazing initiative that we're going to pass, and we're going to win. No joke.
The power of the people is really all we have. Short of that, we're going to give in to the fascist dictators that would have us. The people of IB are definitely on the side of medical marijuana. In 1996, they voted overwhelmingly. The state, or rather the county, I believe at 52 or 53% of the vote went for Proposition 215. However, in Imperial Beach it was 57%. So it's quite a bit higher. Since then, with the educational aspects of the medicinal uses, it's gone up dramatically. Our chances there, I think, are wonderful. The Kiwanis Club, I think, is our barometer, in my opinion. When you go into cities and you see those little placards of what groups are giving money to the city, and you have the Veterans Administrator or the VFW and all those little. But the Kiwanis is really a staple, because they are business leaders, community leaders that are in it for the children. So when the city took this issue to them in a meeting and requesting their denouncement or their endorsement of the council banning it, they were met with, out of 11 members, only one on their side. So since we have the Kiwanis, I think we have the citizenry, and all we need is the signatures, I think, to make it happen.
Awesome. Give a big round of applause. All right, we are going to be moving into the open forum. One more time, thank you so much, panelists. That was really, really informative. It gave us a lot to talk about. I know we were on a little bit of a time crunch, so some ideas didn't get finished. Like I said, this is the open forum. We're going to run it pretty much just like we've been running things. We've got 10 minutes.
Just really quick, it is 6 o'clock, so any canvassers who need to leave, feel free to do so. We're off of work hours. But if you do have questions, bring them in tomorrow and we can answer them.
So this is going to run, like I said, we have 10 minutes. When you answer questions, I would say try to stick to a minute or two if it feels like it's going important. Obviously, I'll let the discussion go. If it's like a lot of people have their hands up and still haven't been able to speak, then I'll just give you the knock, and that'll be 1 minute left. So, that being said, anybody have any questions? Or want to make a comment? Anything?
Quick question. And